and columnist and journalist Paul McNamee. So welcome to both of you. Good to
Morning.
see you both. Once again, Andy Burnham dominating the front pages, as you would imagine, made Labour leader on Friday and will, of course, take over as Prime Minister tomorrow. So a big time for him and a weekend of speculation around what he's going to do and who he's going to appoint. Take us, Paul, to the Sunday Times, first of all, because their story is around what his plans might be for Thames Water. Yeah,
this is one of the first pieces of substance, if you can say that it is a piece of substance, because there isn't a lot of detail in it. But essentially, Andy Burnham is going to take Thames Water into what it's a special form of administration. It stops short of complete public ownership, which I think quite a lot of the public probably would have gone for. We know how the utilities are feeling people, and we know how much money is being sifted away from frontline help into the pockets of those who had bought the companies. And now Andy Burnham is going to act. He's talking about putting Thames Water into what's called a special administrative regime. It allows it to carry on until a buyer is found, if indeed a buyer is to be found. Now, the part of the issue here is creditors are owed about 17 billion by Thames Water. 17 billion. It's just a staggering amount of money. And it's not entirely clear how much it will cost for this special administration regime, potentially up to 2 billion by the end of this year. So immediately, while it looks like a popular choice and a smart move, it could immediately cause a fiscal problem for Andy Burnham.
Already an expensive option.
Yes.
But, full nationalisation would be even more, I think, wouldn't it? And what do you make of this? Because nationalisation of some of the utilities would be pretty popular, wouldn't it? I
think particularly with the customers that are affected. I know MPs. This is one of in that region. That's one of the top sort of issues that they get their constituents writing in about, and it just seems to keep on going, doesn't it? So I think some action will have to be taken. But the rest of the story kind of pictures some of the other things that that the government probably will be looking at and the cost associated with that. So one of the things is scrapping of that digital ID, which is very unpopular, but that money to be diverted into other measures to help support with cost of living. So I think, when Andy Burnham gets his feet under the table, under the desk tomorrow afternoon, he's going to have a list of all the different crises that he has to tackle and the price tag associated with them. So,
What are you saying? Are you saying that when the reality's hit, it's going to be harder?
Yeah.
Because steps like these cost money.
Absolutely. I don't think it's going to be a long honeymoon. So.
Oh, really?
Good luck to him.
Do you agree with that?
I'm not entirely certain that's true. I think one of the reasons that Burnham has found his way in here quite so quickly, when at the turn of the year, it looked like he'd blown it because some of the things that he was saying. I think there is something about him that people connect with. And so long as he keeps allowing space for him to talk in terms that people can relate to, I think the honeymoon may go a little longer. I know that there will be attacks and we'll come on to them, but I think he's got something about him that brings people along, and if he can carry on doing that, it's fine. And then it'll give him time to keep dropping in his Smith's lyrics. Quite a lot of them.
OK, let's see how it goes. We'll move on to the Sunday Express next, though, Laura. They have a story about the amount of money that Labour has spent on advisers. I mean, is this looking back at Keir Starmer's government? Is that what this story is focusing on, or is it on Andy Burnham bringing people in?
It's looking back, and they say in the story about how it doubled from the Johnson administration. So basically, we're now looking at about 12.4 million is spent on special advisers. Also, as well, the size of the civil service has increased to over 500,000. And that sort of juxtaposed about all the other costs that we are expected to see. So welfare, for example, is forecast to go over 480 billion by 2030-31. So again, it taps into that narrative. How is the new government going to pay for all that? Are we going to look at increased borrowing, increased taxes? And I think, people will be concerned about how many advisors have been appointed and what they're doing, particularly as we're seeing who is sort of being talked about, who's going to be taking those really important cabinet positions and those advisors that will come in with them. So I think this is just another story that obviously will kind of irk people who are facing those day-to-day pressures.
Just a quick thought on that, Paul. I mean, two very different issues, really, the cost of advisors and the cost of welfare.
Yeah.
But what do you make of what they're saying? Do you think it is something that will annoy people, the thought that they're spending lots of money on advisors?
To a degree, but it does feel that it's talking about what was in the past, and it is a story then that the new administration will be able to move away from, say, well, that was them. We are a new dawn. We are not going to be like that. It is a lot of money, but this clearly is an antagonistic approach because it's left-wing advisors. It's not just advisors, so it's speaking to a particular Sunday Express readership.
OK, let's move on to the Mail on Sunday then. And their headline is, "Flutter those eyelashes all you like, Andy. We want an election now." I mean, the eyelashes thing is really a reference to Kemi Badenoch talking about, I can't remember what she said now, a polo shirt and some eyelashes.
Yeah, black T-shirt and
that's right.
Who knew?
And he did a response on Instagram. But the message about wanting an election now, again, A, is Andy Burnham going to be tempted to go to the country? And B, should he?
Well, no, and no. I don't think he will be tempted. I think why risk all of that? I mean, you look at Farage, who's supposed to be a fantastic reader of the country and politician. He's blown it by calling an election because he thought that it would prove something about himself. Burnham doesn't need to set a bear trap like that for himself at the moment. It is true that it is something of an investiture rather than people choosing him, and that may become a problem along the line if things start to go wrong. But at the minute, I don't think that, as the Mail says, it is proof he's out of touch, because even with the Mail readers, that front page is coming when 47% of people in the polls, the 2,000 people they polled, said he should call a general election. So not even half of them anyway. And some of the other things, is it a good idea to establish a number 10 in the north? Well, 36% of them said yes rather than no. So clearly there is something that he is getting right. I know he's not there yet, but it feels as though he's getting there. And sometimes when that moves from a sense into reality, it's a very positive engine for politicians.
And we've got used to seeing changes of prime ministers without general elections, haven't we? And the argument for taking that route is that we have a parliamentary system. People don't vote for a leader; they vote for their local representative, and they vote for a party. Do you think that's fair, or do you think that a general election is something that the public should expect?
So I think people probably don't buy into the fact that he has a narrative because a mandate, sorry, because he doesn't. And I think, like I said previously, I think the honeymoon period is going to be quite short. So people are expecting this change, this new direction. I mean, he's saying about 1970s Labour left-wing politics again. Well, I don't think people really want that. So I think the shine is going to come off pretty quickly, and also within the Parliamentary Labour Party, because a lot of them have stuck their necks out to make this change. So they're going to be expecting rewards quite soon, not just for them, but for their constituents. The public are impatient, aren't they? We've seen that with other leaders, and I think the Conservatives and Kemi are calling Andy Burnham coronation chicken because he hasn't come to Parliament and also hasn't put sort of like the meat on the bones of what the policies are. So I think he's going to have to provide some of that substance over the salt pretty quickly, otherwise people will be saying, yes, actually, we do want an election, but do we want all that again? I personally don't know about you.
Well, there's a lot of speculation that he might hit the ground running and announce policies early doors. We might get a kind of sprinkling of policies in the next few weeks. Do you think that would be the right way to go?
Well, I think he has to. He has to show that if he is talking about change, he can deliver on some kind of change. I also think that we shouldn't underestimate the power of what he says about understanding how people are fed up with centralisation in Westminster and then being left behind. That is such a potent message that's coming through, and he clearly hears it and wants to do something about it. And although some of it is performative, the number 10 in the north and him working some days from Manchester, and it's not entirely clear if that's going to happen because of security issues, at least he shows that he's taken that
He's trying to
seriously.
send out a signal with that.
I think he will, because of the whole devolution, that he really believes in. And also we're seeing that he's going to be doing a tour of the nations and regions over the summer recess. And I think that is really important to get out, to Wales, to Scotland, to Northern Ireland, to the other regions, to give that sort of reassurance.
And we may well get cost of living associated announcements as well. Yeah. Let's just very quickly, we've only got a minute, but let's reflect on Josh Kerr's extraordinary world record that he ran. It's on the front of a number of the papers that at the Sunday Express we've picked up, and there he is. That's from the front of the Sunday Express. Looking pretty happy about it.
I think it's a remarkable thing. It's that the idea of the 4-minute mile that Roger Bannister, when he cracked that in, I want to say 54, I might be wrong, but since then it feels as though it's always been part of a cultural memory and a cultural thought, and there he's come through and he's brought it down even lower. And he'd set his sights on it. He said he was going to do it yesterday. He was training at altitude. He had incredible focus. And he'll be in the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow at the week. Well, they start at the weekend.
Amazing.
He's Scottish. It says Brit there, but he's Scottish.
Fair enough. An incredible achievement. There's something so pure about athletics, isn't there? It's an incredible victory. We're out of time. Thank you.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?